Hey everybody, it's Chip Letzgus at Isuzu Commercial Truck of America, and today I am in Grapevine, Texas. We are conducting the spring training program for the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, and I have with me someone who is not from Dallas-Fort Worth. I have Eric Dobbie of Letzgus Isuzu Truck Center in Hartford, Connecticut, but you have managed to find your way to this meeting rather than one in Hartford a few weeks ago. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Chip. It's great to be here. I really appreciate you.
I've got two questions. Why are you here, and how did you get here?
Well, that's a great question. I do have some accounts out here in Dallas, so I wanted to multitask a little bit. So I came a day early, all right, and then so this is the Isuzu training, which is fantastic, and it's a great opportunity to be here. I really appreciate you.
So when I said, how did you get here, I didn't mean, did you drive, did you fly? I meant, how did you get here? How long have you been selling Isuzus?
About 6 years now.
Okay, and how long have you been in the commercial truck industry?
About 6 years, but
Okay.
How did I get to the truck industry?
Yeah, because I think you had a more unusual route than some to our industry. So how did you get here?
Well, actually, I did have a background on Wall Street. I spent 25 years as an equities trader. And then I was quite fortunate to have a broken ankle, which got me into the truck industry. And if I could explain that a little bit.
Please do, because...
about 7 years ago-ish, I used to own a condo in Clearwater. And
Clearwater, Florida.
Clearwater, Florida, yes.
But you were a securities trader on Wall Street.
Correct.
So you
correct.
lived in New York?
Well, I was in New York. I also traded in Richmond, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. in my career. But at this time, about 7 years ago, I was in Clearwater, Florida, waiting tables. And I get a phone call from a gentleman that rented my condo that happened to be in the truck industry. And he calls me up to say, how old's my son Luke? I said, 12. He said, can he play baseball? I said, yeah. I said, what's going on? He says, well, my catcher on my Little League team broke his ankle. So I said, Luke's on your team. He wanted Luke to play on his team. And then obviously we knew each other from my Wall Street days. And he said, what are you doing now? I said, I'm waiting tables at a restaurant. And he said, you gotta be kidding me. I said, he said, do you want to sell trucks? I said, yes, I really do. So that next Monday, I started in the truck industry down in Clearwater, Florida.
How was it that you were no longer a trader and were a waiter, if you don't mind my asking? Not that there's anything wrong with waiting tables.
But I did get displaced in 2011.
Wow.
We had about 9 rounds of cuts during the so-called recession back in
2008, 9, yeah.
10,
Okay.
Right. So you do what you have to do, and I was a senior equities trader, and I was overqualified for a lot of jobs that I had applied for, so I ended up waiting tables in Florida.
Okay, so you started in the truck industry in Clearwater, Florida.
Correct. Okay? Correct. Now this is really interesting. My current boss, Craig Judge, who you know, Craig. Mm-hmm. The Wall Street and me, we actually sold used Isuzu trucks, and we did some upfitting. So the Wall Street and me said, okay, I want to introduce myself to every Isuzu dealer all the way up the East Coast. So I cold called a list of every Isuzu dealer from Clearwater to Maine, introduced myself, said, hey, I'm new to the team down here, and one of them happened to be Craig Judge on the phone call. Basically, it was just a cold call. Hey, if there's anything I can do for you down here, give me a call. But this is really important, and this goes out to all you salesmen out there. I'm huge into appreciation marketing and thank you cards. So every cold call, I followed up with a thank you card. One of the cards was to Craig Judge, and a week later, when he got the card, he actually called me to say thank you, nice touch. And at the time, Craig was the director of marketing for Nutmeg Truck Center at the time. So Craig calls me up, and basically that phone call prompted what? A second conversation. And the second conversation was, tell me more about what you do. So we fabricated, and he asked me, out of curiosity, what's your turnaround time on a flatbed? I said, 2-3 weeks, and he said his turnaround time was, 7 to 8 weeks. So he asked me right there on the phone, he says, give me a quote on a 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 foot flatbed. And he hangs up and I'm saying, geez, did that just happen? So I call him back a half hour later with a quote and he ordered 7 flatbeds. So Craig became my biggest customer in Florida for 2 years, which, you know, I love telling the story because it has some great sales basics. One's a cold call. 2's the follow-up with gratitude. 3 is it prompted a second conversation, which created more conversation, which we all need with, you know, with our customers. You know, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. But 2, you know, or actually 3, he became my biggest customer, and I actually covered him like a Wall Street account. You know, when I traded for hedge funds and mutual funds. So that daily 20-second phone call, hey Craig, how you doing? Hey Craig, how you doing? Hey Craig. I called Craig every day for 2 years, coming over the Skyway Bridge, and we got to know each other. And after 2 years, he says, you got to come work for me. Nobody's ever covered me like this in the truck industry. So he flew me up, and this is a really interesting story about networking too.
Yeah, I understand that you had like the ride share ride.
Uber ride?
The Uber ride that changed lives.
Yes. So I did fly up almost 5 years ago in October for an interview with Craig, and it was a Saturday morning in the fall. And I'm an avid golfer, so I said, let's play golf. And I met the boss and Craig and stuff. So he says, fly in up and, you know, call an Uber. And then I got you a hotel room down by our office. I said, great. So I land around 8 o'clock in the morning in Hartford. Now, I've never been to Hartford before, but I did call the Uber driver, and a gentleman named Curtis Thomas picks me up. Don't know him from Adam. I sit in the front seat, and of course I said, how you doing? My name's Eric. What's your name? Curtis. And I said to Curtis, how far is the ride to the hotel? He says, about 15 minutes. So I said, Curtis, you got 15 minutes to convince me to move from Clearwater Beach to Hartford, Connecticut. So Curtis, he starts thinking, and we haven't even pulled out of the airport yet. And he says, Eric, I can tell you one fantastic thing about Hartford. I said, what's that, Curtis? He says, my wife's cooking. So I said to her, he says, well, I'm kind of hungry. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Can we go to your house for breakfast?
This is unbelievable to me. Okay,
Yeah.
So you went to Curtis's house?
I went to Curtis's house for breakfast. He gets Carolyn on the phone and says, Carolyn, you know, make some breakfast for Eric. And then we're on the speakerphone, and he says,
And you guys have never met before?
never met. And I hear Carolyn on the phone, and Curtis says, hey, Carolyn, make breakfast for Eric. And I heard, who? And Curtis says, well, you seem like a nice guy. We're going. We went right downtown to his house, downtown Hartford, went to breakfast. And I met his son, Alex, and he's a great guy. He actually ran he's the program director at the downtown YMCA, so we had a nice conversation. Because I run a youth program called Rockball, so I'm very familiar with and Rockball, by the way, is baseball choreographed to rock and roll. So, you know, I've worked with inner city youth for 25 years coaching baseball. So we go right to his house for breakfast from the airport. Now, Craig's expecting me at the hotel, you know, 8:45 maybe, you know, because we're supposed to go play golf. So, you know, we're having breakfast. I meet Carolyn and Curtis and their son Alex, and about an hour goes by, and I get a phone call from Craig. Where are you? I said, I'm at my Uber driver's house having breakfast. And Craig goes, only you. But a true story. But we stayed in touch with Curtis.
I was going to say, I just have this feeling from the details that you're providing me that this was not just a one-time thing with Curtis, that there's the Curtis recurs in the story.
So at the time we were expanding, obviously, you know, we needed truck drivers, you know, to move inventory. So, you know, Craig says, are you still in touch with that Uber driver, Curtis?
How long after that was
we hired him about a month later. So, so Curtis and I have been working at in Hartford for about 4.5 years now.
Together. Unbelievable. Now, one of the things you mentioned in that story, I have fortunate to have been the recipient of as well, and that is your thank you notes. Eric was on the Silver Winter Circle trip this year in Las Vegas, and it was almost, I think it was exactly a week after the program was over that I received, and so did other folks who were Isuzu hosts, received personalized thank you notes from Eric. But they were different from, when I think of a personalized thank you note, I think of one that has the person's name on it, signed and that kind of thing. But these are, your thank you notes are legendary.
Well, I appreciate it.
And so what makes them different? How do you do them? Because they're really effective.
Well, I actually use a tool called Send Out Cards. Send Out Cards, they're actually the #1 sender of first-class mail in the United States of America. They're based out in Utah. They've been around for about 18 years. But basically, I like to make the cards about the person I'm sending it to. So what that means is I have access to every photo in my phone. And through the app or on a computer, you can create a card with every picture that's in your phone. So I make it a habit, especially when I sell a truck, I'll take a picture of the customer in front of a truck. That's my card. And I can create any type of font on the inside or additional photos, et cetera, but it takes me about 2 minutes. I don't lick stuff stamp. I don't bake the brownies, which you've had.
I didn't mention the brownies.
Brownies are pretty good.
Yeah.
But bottom line, it's an amazing
And the reason
tool.
I didn't mention the brownies is that there's some people at Isuzu who got the brownies from you, but they don't know that because they didn't make it past my fingers. I was just checking to make sure that they were safe, and
you had a few of them.
So.
Well, what we're really getting to here is when it comes to sales in any type of business, I think appreciation marketing and gratitude is probably the least utilized tool that we all have. We all have access to, and all of our jobs is to build long-term relationships with our customers. And when it comes to appreciation marketing, these customers are putting money in our pocket. And if they're not putting money in our pocket, Chip, they're putting money in our competitors' pocket. Mm-hmm. So I've always been a big believer in gratitude and thank you. Matter of fact, I've sent over about 17,000 cards in the last 10 years. Wow. And it's almost impossible. I really believe this. As a business professional in any industry, it's impossible to go a day without sending at least one card to somebody. You have first-time meetings, you have closed business, you have follow-ups, you have life celebrations with your customers, you have sympathy cards, you have uplifting cards for personal development, professional development. But it's just an amazing tool, and outside of love, I think gratitude is the second most powerful virtue that we have. Wow. And I appreciate you bringing that up.
And we have great gratitude that you are part of the Isuzu family.
Well, when you think about my relationship with Craig Judge and how we met, if I never sent that card after the cold call, that second conversation would never have happened.
Never have happened.
And so what's the ROI on a $1.50 card?
Yeah.
He becomes my biggest customer for 2 years, and then he hires me. And I've been now with, Nutmeg, but now Allegiance Truck. For December will be 5 full years.
That's great.
That's great.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for spending time. And I think your message and your story is going to inspire an awful lot of people. So
well, that's awesome. And Chip, I want to thank you, but also I just want to say one thing about the Isuzu family. The Isuzu family, backs their product. They give us support. I have so much comfort in knowing that your whole team is in my back pocket to call, to reach out for support, because you guys have been phenomenal. I mean, from day one at our Kansas City training, I'm sitting there listening to you guys, and I said, man, these guys really care about us. And you know what? After 5 years, you still do. and this is more evidence. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Sean Skinner. I want to thank the Isuzu team, and please continue to do what you're doing, because it's a great model. It really is. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. We will be back in 7 days with another Monday morning message. And thanks again, Eric.
Thanks, Chip. Always a pleasure.